There are still unfinished business that we must speedily complete to ensure we finish well. We must, therefore, endeavor to close every gap in our implementation efforts.
An eye on the civil service. Buhari backs up sanctions for underperforming officers with an executive order.
Parties, candidates and their supporters should not, by acts of commission or omission, further complicate the prevailing security situation in the country.
Campaigns and electoral violence. INEC summons emergency meeting.
Please permit us to use this opportunity to appeal to citizens, civil society organizations, interest, professional groups, and institutions to prevail on the Conference of Speakers to withdraw their threat to truncate the Constitution amendment process.
Plus, Constitution amendment journey on a snail speed. Only 11 states acted on bills. Hello and welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Henry John and we're live in Abuja. Adiola Komiokere joins me from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. Just before we hit the road, it's good that you know that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen for updates. A culture of accountability and transparency in the pursuit of good governance and effective service delivery to Nigerians has been formally institutionalized. This followed the signing of an Executive Order 12 by President Muhammadu Buhari aimed at improving performance management coordination and implementation of presidential priorities of the federal government. This was at the closing ceremony of the third Ministerial Performance Review Retreat, during which the President warned government officials against abandoning governance for electioneering, saying any infraction will be viewed seriously. State House correspondent Adam Musambo brings us details.
This signing by President Muhammadu Buhari of the Executive Order 12 to institutionalize the culture of transparency and accountability for good governance in Nigeria brings to an end the two-day retreat aimed at closing the gaps towards delivering legacy projects, promoting sustainable economic growth, and improving the living standards of Nigerians. And as the President says, it has been a well-spent 2 days of reflection and lesson learning aimed at reviewing progress and agreeing on key actions that will ensure that his administration finishes well.
From the assessment report and discussions at this retreat, it is evident that we have made appreciable progress through collective efforts in setting the nation on the path of sustainable development while improving the well-being of our people. Notwithstanding these achievements, there are still unfinished business that we must speedily complete to ensure we finish well. We must, therefore, endeavor to close every gap in our implementation efforts to ensure the attainment of set targets by 2023.
President Buhari therefore issued specific directives to the ministries overseeing key sectors of the nation's economy to step up, double their efforts, and work in synergy towards total delivery of his administration's set targets. The retreat, he says, helped everyone to clearly identify what needs to be done and how best to get it done as the administration begins winding down.
Let me use this opportunity to appeal to the National Assembly to fast-track the consideration and passage of key legislative bills as agreed during the panel session. This will serve as our collective legacy towards entrenching key reforms that will serve as a springboard for the next administration.
And the commencement of the electioneering campaigns towards the next general elections notwithstanding, the President says all ministers, permanent secretaries, and heads of government agencies must remain focused in the discharge of their duties.
Any infraction will be viewed very seriously. Our collective goal is to map out a transition plan for the incoming administration to ensure proper documentation of all the policies, programs, and projects of government with up-to-date status of implementation.
During the closing ceremony, Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed gave an overview of Nigeria's National Development Plan. Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo discussed the imperative of national security as it affects national development, while Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, made public recommendations from the retreat as well as the next steps.
The Nigeria Agenda 2050 is a prospective plan designed to transform Nigeria into an upper middle income country with an average GDP growth of $12 trillion by the year 2050.
There has to be a depoliticization of security issues such that we think Nigeria and act Nigeria.
The Central Delivery and Coordinating Unit will support Mr. President to track all the commitments made in these sessions and report on our progress before the end of the administration's tenure.
Former President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, who was the guest speaker at the opening of the retreat on Monday, was on hand to witness the closing ceremony in solidarity with the Nigerian leader. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, will unveil the President Muhammadu Buhari administration scorecard series from 2015 to 2023 on Wednesday, October 19, 2022, at the National Press Center, Radio House, Abuja, by 10 a.m. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, will make the first presentation on the achievements of his ministry. Now heading to the National Assembly. The National Assembly says it is disheartening that out of the 36 state assemblies, only 11 have considered and voted on the 44 constitutional alteration bills transmitted to them. The National Assembly Joint Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution stated this at the committee's joint briefing. Ignatius Nko reports.
On the 1st of March 2022, the National Assembly voted on 68 constitutional alteration bills. 44 were passed by both chambers of the National Assembly. On the 29th of March, 44 of those bills were transmitted to state assemblies. 24 state houses of assembly are constitutionally required to pass the bills, but 6 months after, only 11 states have considered and passed them. The Joint Committee attributed the delay to the position of Conference of Speakers of State Houses of Assembly, which insisted on the inclusion of 4 bills, including state police.
State police. 2. A bill to establish state judicial council. 3. A bill to streamline the procedure for removing presiding officers of state houses of assembly. And 4. A bill to institutionalize legislative plurality in the Constitution. It is legally and constitutionally inappropriate for the content of the speaker to use the 4 bills as a legal goal to act on the 44 bills the National Assembly has transmitted.
At this point, the Constitutional Review Committee made an appeal to Nigerians.
Please permit us to use this opportunity to appeal to citizens, civil society organizations, interest groups, and institutions to prevail on the grounds of speakers to withdraw their threat to truncate the constitutional amendment process. We would like to commence the process of making sure that the autonomy for local government, the autonomy for the judiciary, and the autonomy for our legislature is actually approved.
Abia, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Delta, and Edo states are the state assemblies that have voted on the bills. Others are Kaduna, Katsina, Lagos, Kogi, Ogun, and Osun states. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nko, NTA News.
Now looking at environmental issues in a proactive bid to mitigate the effect of flooding in Delta, The state government, through its Flood Disaster Management Committee, established more camps to accommodate persons displaced from their communities. The Director General, Bureau of Orientation, Barrister Eugene Uzum, disclosed this at a press briefing. Becky Chukuka tells us more.
The Director General says the Flood Disaster Management Committee is collaborating with the State Emergency Management Agency, SELMA, the Office of the Senior Political Advisor to the Governor, and the traditional rulers to ensure a seamless evacuation of victims to the camps.
We must rescue our people. That's what the state government is doing. And at the same time, mitigating on the challenges posed by the ravaging flood in terms of destruction of properties. And then the long-term solution is the construction of dam and dredging of the river Niger.
He disclosed that this year's flooding is more challenging than what was experienced in 2012.
And as the water rises, as is being forecasted, if it necessitates taking out everybody in Okagwe community out of that place, they will be taken out. Some are in need of relief materials. Some should immediately be taken to the IDP camps. Some are not affected by the flood at all, but they need information on where to go and where not to go. For example, traveling to Port Harcourt through the east-west road, Ugeli-Axis is a challenge.
He maintained that the state government is passionate about the safety of the people in this critical moment and urged residents of affected communities to quickly move to the camps. In Asaba, Becky Greatman Chukuka, NTA News.
In other news, as the 2023 Population and Housing Census draws closer, the National Population Commission wants Nigerians to ensure they are counted, provide their details as required, and understand the essence of census to national development. Oluseyi Adiagbo reports that the Commission, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency, has flagged off a nationwide roadshow sensitization in Abuja, with a view to re-echoing the quests of delivering verifiable census data to Nigeria next year.
Mobilization of citizens is crucial to every census program, and making Nigerians to take ownership of the 2023 population and housing census have been the call of the National Population Commission. Despite the series of pre-census activities that have been concluded and even the ongoing nationwide prior post-remuneration survey, some Nigerians are not aware of the census. Omar Biu is one of them.
I don't know.
The 2023 National Population and Housing Census is coming with a central thing. You can't be counted. This work is also explaining to Nigerians what this message is all about.
You count, you are very, very important. I mean the people. And it is important that the people are reached, through all various means.
Census is coming and we all must be aware of it and prepare.
In the MPC's advocacy and publicity campaign agenda, the agency of government driving the census project continues to build on its existing synergy with the National Orientation Agency, NOA, leveraging on its structures to take census messages to nooks and crannies of Nigeria.
This census is going to be fully digital. We're also putting in to our questionnaire questions relating to our environment, the conditions that our citizens live in. Already, 36 state directors are in Abuja. They are going to get content from the National Population Commission. Such contents are what will be translated, into different languages for purposes of taking them to the grassroots.
It is a display of placards with different inscriptions on enlightenment, and the National Population Commission, as well as the National Orientation Agency, are on their toes preaching the message to Elf City residents on the coming 2023 census. Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA.
This is NTA Network News. Time for a break. Please stay.
She's a wandering light in the darkness. She's beautiful. Oh, she's a superstar. She never let her mama down. She's beautiful. She don't ever got it for them.
No phones at the table, please.
love you too.
Don't forget our biggest friend.
Airtel, the smartphone network. The education tax, of which we do that on behalf of, the TED fund. If you go to our tertiary institutions across the country, you will visibly see where taxpayers' money is working. At the Federal Accounts and Allocations Committee, FRS provides over 60% of the monies that have been shared there, of which is what the state governors use, in doing their own businesses, providing infrastructure, paying salaries, in addition to their own internally generated revenue. So all these monies that we collect on behalf of these taxpayers are kind of a social contract between the government, the taxpayers, the tax users, and people even handling the taxes, the collection of the taxes.
With your money, you don't need to worry. Them no go fit to scam you. And you don't need to any transaction you go fit to perform. You don't even need smartphone. No. You don't need that. Clean your wallet, check your balance, transfer money. That is you need. You can bank on it. Yes, you can. Just take your phone and press. In the city, anywhere where you do. You sell a car. Any job where you get it, just know say yes, you can. You can bank on it. Sorry, what more things are be sorry. No, can't be last. Bank on it.
Same Naira, more possibilities.
The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Muhammad, welcomes President and heads of government, the UNESCO Director General, Ms. Audrey Azoula, and other UN officials, foreign ministers, ambassadors, international dignitaries, and members of the Federal Executive Council to the UNESCO Global Media and Information Literacy Week 2022 with the theme Nurturing Trust, a Media and Information Literacy Imperative. Date 24th to 31st October 2022. Opening session 24th October 2022 at the Banquet Hall, Presidential Villa, Abuja. Time 3 p.m. The other sessions of the Global Media and Information Literacy Week 2022 will take place at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari GCFR, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mrs. Lydia Shehu Jafia, MNI, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Announcer.
Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Dr. Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, CON, invites all heads of federal government ministries, departments and agencies, media practitioners and other relevant stakeholders to a public presentation and breakdown of the highlights of the 2023 budget proposals laid before the National Assembly by President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Date, Wednesday, 19th October 2022. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Venue, Main Auditorium, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. Ben Akabueze, Director General, Budget Office of the Federation. Announcer.
Welcome back. And back to the third ministerial retreat, which ended today. In a goodwill message at the retreat, presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, commended the present administration for making historic progress despite the challenges of COVID-19 and the global economic shocks occasioned by the Russian-Ukraine war. The Buhari administration considers the ongoing ministerial retreat as an opportunity to take stock and consolidate on the gains of previous years, as well as finish strong in the delivery of legacy projects and programs of government. Moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari sent warm felicitations to former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, on the occasion of his 88th birthday. President Buhari notes the dedication of the former head of state to pursuing unity, peace and progress of Nigeria, West Africa and the African continent. playing a major role in the structural, economic and social growth of the country and paving way for a regional bloc, Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS. The president rejoices with General Gowon on his 88th birthday, knowing that most of his years, which include working as a military officer and head of state, were committed to building the nation with policies like the creation of states, National Youth Service Corps, and rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reintegration, forming the core for inclusive development. Nigerians have been urged to own the fight against crude oil theft and pipeline vandalism. Group Chief Executive Officer, NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, made a call at the ongoing Pegasus Energy and Labour Summit in Abuja. Kyari, who noted that perpetrators collude with experts to defraud the country, says no one will be spared if found complicit in the ongoing fight against crude oil theft. Lydia Sampson completes the story.
Group CEO of NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, was a unionist who in the past aspired to be Pegasus president. That dream was not realized because he was defeated at the election. However, the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pegasus, agree Mele Kyari is still a comrade at heart. Naturally, the group CEO's presentation on issues bedeviling the industry was a frank talk between persons on the same page.
It means that, we must supply energy to this country in all its forms: power, petroleum products, and of course also provide the resources that are required to build even the new energies that we are talking about, the energy transition. So it's all encompassing, and until we arrest the current situation of theft and abandoned actions, it's very difficult to take the next step. And I'm happy to also share with you today that monumental progress has been achieved.
His analogy of issues resonates with Benga Komolafe, CEO, Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, and the president of Pegasus, Festus Osifu.
Nigeria has the chance to leverage the energy transition to lead in the creation of renewable energy businesses that will help to meet the growing energy demand on the continent and create new revenue streams and jobs.
What are those things that we need to do today? What are those things that we need? What are the skill sets? What are the trainings we need to do today, or we need to start inculcating today in order for us to still remain relevant tomorrow?
They decry pipeline vandalism and crude oil theft, which is threatening energy security in the country. They insist the narrative must change for good to hasten the provision of energy security for the teeming populace. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Now talking politics, the engagement of presidential candidates by northern pressure groups has ended with meetings of two other presidential candidates to discuss issues of national interest. The session hosted presidential candidates of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, and that of Labour Party, Peter Obi. Umar Ajinge reports.
It was an interactive session which began with the APC presidential candidate Asuwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Northern elders raised issues of security, economy, agriculture and power. While responding to these issues, the presidential candidate said addressing them is key to national growth. He said it will require collective effort in solving them. Ahmed Bola Tinubu believed the country can be out of the present situation. All is needed is a pragmatic leader with political will.
What I am bringing to the table, a good experience, can-do attitude, thinking and doing it. Our economic plan, we utilize the vast natural resources we have through strategic investment in infrastructure, which will lead to the diversification of economy and wealth creation across the country.
Presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, told the gathering that Nigeria is blessed with both human and natural resources. All is needed is a leader who understands the dynamics of globalization. He said the nation's unity in diversity is a strength and critical to its survival.
Nigeria is not breadth of ideas. Nigeria is not breadth of ideas or breadth of manifestos. There's very good reading manifestos. There's very good reading ideas in Nigeria. If you go know where they park their people. Then, what is lacking? It is the institutional weakness that is not allowed to deliver them, and the political way.
Conveners of the meeting described the engagement as fruitful, which will allow for informed choice of suitable candidate. In Kaduna, Umar Ajingi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Integrity Movement on the platform of the governing All Progressives Congress is meeting party chieftains ahead of success in the forthcoming general election. Abubakar Akwanga reports.
The APC Integrity Movement is mobilizing support of all Nigerians for its candidates as 2023 elections draws near. The latest on its list of consultation is Senator Victor Udoma Eba, where strategic discussion took center stage.
Our candidate that emerge irrespective of wherever they come from, we believe they emerge based on their pedigree, based on their integrity, based on their antecedent previously where they have served, right from the distinguished Senator Asuwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which is running mate of all other candidates that emerge, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we feel this is an opportunity that we cannot afford to allow Nigerians to lose this kind of opportunity.
The advantage we have is that we already have an established structure right down to every polling unit in Nigeria. So we have the structure to answer to every development, whether the development is in our favor or not. We have the structure to answer that. And I think that we should begin to go into politics of development.
The movement is continuing its mission of spreading tentacles and solidifying structures ahead of victories at all levels. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Back to our earlier report on the goodwill message delivered by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, actually commended the present administration for making historic progress despite the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and the global economic shocks occasioned by the Russian-Ukraine war.
I know the level of patriotic dedication with which you have served this country. I know the things you have achieved. I'm listening critically to the laundry list of what was achieved and discussed yesterday. One way definitely realize the depth of commitment that every one of you has made to this country, that you have kept faith with the developmental program of our party.
The ministerial retreat was an opportunity to take stock and consolidate on the gains of previous years, as well as finish strong in the delivery of legacy projects and programs of government. And as we walk towards the 2023 general elections, a few days after the commencement of campaigns, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is not comfortable with the manner parties are taking off with the process. He stated this at a training workshop on the technologies to be deployed for the elections in Abuja.
Reports of clashes among parties and their supporters in some states of the country during the ongoing electioneering campaign is worrisome. So too is the reported denial of access to public facilities for parties and candidates in some states of the Federation. Let me caution parties and their supporters to focus on issues and steer clear of attacks on each other. These are not only violations of the Electoral Act 2022, but also negate the voluntary commitment by all political parties and candidates to the letter and spirit of the peace accord signed about 3 weeks ago under the auspices of the National Peace Committee. Parties, candidates and their supporters should not, by act of commission or omission, further complicate the prevailing security situation in the country. A peaceful electioneering campaign is critical to the conduct of peaceful and credible elections. The Commission will continue to monitor the situation closely and will convene a meeting with leaders of political parties next week to discuss, among other issues, the imperative of peaceful campaigns and equal access to public facilities. In the same vein, the Commission will also meet with security agencies under the auspices of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. And this meeting
INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu there. Now, away from electoral matters, a multi-billion naira fertilizer plant has been inaugurated in Kaduna. This is part of investment drive by Kaduna State government to provide good climatic condition for investors to benefit. Suleiman Rigachiko reports that the plant is to provide fertilizer for farmers in Kaduna State and beyond.
A celebration of the future of agriculture and prosperity of smallholder farmers. OCP Africa, the largest phosphate company in the world, built the first ultra-modern fertilizers blending plant on the 30-kilometer green agro-allied zone along Kaduna-Abuja route. It is the result of bilateral economic relationship between the federal government and Morocco, and among the many direct private investments attracted to Kaduna State under the present administration.
Thank you. Kaduna State has comparative advantage in agriculture. We have leveraged this endowment as a priority sector for our investment drive.
This effort is still ongoing. Our commitment is still strong, and this new blending units attest to it.
Fully established with state-of-the-art facilities occupying 10 hectares of land, it produces a variety of fertilizers that makes the soil suitable for all grains and has the capacity of blending 120,000 tons per hour. The plant presently has the direct workforce of about 200 youth, including agri-promoters, facilitating transportation of the fertilizers, other inputs, and extension to farmers in rural areas using motorcycles. The projection, officials say, is to expand job opportunities through the value chain. Being the major producer of maize and ginger and the #1 state in the ease of doing business, this investment with capacity to research, training, and empowerment of local holder farmers, stakeholders noted, has put new pathways in contributing to the sustainable food security and employment generation in Kaduna State and the country at large. Sokoto and Ogun blending units are ongoing, and upon completion will produce the needed tons enough to contribute to Nigerian vision for food security. Suleiman Rigachikun, NTA News.
And from Kaduna, we head straight to Lagos, where Adiola is ready to give us more news. Adiola, it's over to you.
Thank you, Yara. Wife of Nigerian President Aisha Buhari has again reiterated the need for women to be more actively involved in politics as a way of contributing their quota to nation building. She made the call at the 22nd National Women's Conference organized by Committee of Wives of Lagos State Officials. Musa Toliat reports.
Of culture. Although the First Lady, Aisha Buhari, could not be physically present, she joined the conference virtually with a call for women to brace up and participate in active politics. As women, we need to prove our worth and capacity to lead. We should study life generally and strategize more to show Nigeria and Nigerians that women have the capacity to participate in politics. The presence of Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike at the conference gives credence to the gathering as a melting point for decision makers to sustain discussions on women development across the country. Governor Wike, however, took time to eulogize the performance of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, saying, apart from party affiliation, the continued transformation of Lagos State into an emerging smart city is commendable.
Each time we watch on television, we see women who are chief judges of Lagos State. We see women deputy governors of Lagos State. We see women this and that and that. And we said, of course, why would such a society not grow?
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who commended the philanthropic activities of council, took a swipe at those who hide behind Lagos for Lagos movement, saying the desired greatness of Lagos State remains a collective responsibility, hence there should be no ethnic sentiments across the state.
This year, you are being called to emerge into a bigger and to a better vision, not only for yourselves, not only for your family, but indeed for the nation.
The world is indeed in need of solutions, and as women, we owe it to ourselves to emerge into better versions of ourselves as we spring forth and keep pushing forward to make a positive difference.
The theme of the Women's Conference is Spring Forth, Stand Out. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
Making and enforcing economic-friendly policies with conducive business environment is all that is needed for Nigeria's pharma industry to compete favorably with those elsewhere. Annie Daniels reports that pharmacists and medical practitioners said this at the 6th Nigeria Pharma Manufacturers Expo in Lagos.
The COVID-19 pandemic was a great reminder to the global community and countries to look inwards and prioritize their local pharma manufacturing sector. Although Nigeria has achieved a milestone by building confidence in its citizens to use made-in-Nigeria medicines, these pharmaceutical experts and medical practitioners say there is still room for greater achievements.
If you are not manufacturing locally, then other parts of the world will mop up your drugs and your vaccines, and you'll be left hanging.
If those countries feel that they are no longer getting the advantage that they used to get, then they can come and invest here.
The theme of this expo is advancing the frontiers of medicine security in Nigeria.
We are developing the pharmaceutical sector strategy, where we expect that everyone in the sector should be part and parcel of, so that at the end of it, it is implemented.
You can only achieve medicine security by being a net exporter. In other words, you are sufficient in what you manufacture. Your people have access to it.
We are hoping that with time, in 5 years' time, we'll have our own APIs, we'll have our own excipients, which is non-active ingredients.
On display at this expo include pharmaceutical devices, equipment, and products.
The other material that we use in pharmaceutical production, we don't have the industry to produce them here.
This exhibition is a good showcase for Indian firms who have the capacity and capability to deliver turnkey projects in manufacturing of pharmaceutical products.
Pharmacists here agree that providing adequate economic-friendly environment and government policies is all that is needed to grow Nigeria's pharma industry. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
We're through with our beat from Lagos, but do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other verified social media handles displayed on the screen. Let's pause here for a break now. We'll be right back.
Of taxation at the end of the day is to be able, is for the government to be able to provide certain goods and services that are usually called pure public goods that can only be provided by government. So one of the most important functions of government is maintaining law and order, providing property rights, ensuring Nigeria is fully represented in the community of other countries. And because of this, obviously, you need money to do these things. So how does government get money? It is through taxation.
My son Aiden wants to be a great actor like you. How did I do? You did great. A couple of years ago is when his acting began.
Think you can play?
Yes.
Yeah.
I take him to auditions and give him Tristan, our family favorite. With the right support, my boy is going to be a great actor. You got the role! Give your kids Trisco to support their big dream. Trisco, power your dream.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. No cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
The Road Infrastructure Tax Credit Scheme is one of the innovations of this government in order to encourage investment in critical infrastructure. We have the one that NNPC is handling. There are 21 roads spread across the 6 geopolitical zones that are being handled. So this is a very important scheme. It's leveraging on the capacity of the private sector to be more efficient in project delivery. And I'm sure that by the time some of these routes become operational, it is going to improve the competitiveness of Nigeria's economy and in the end reduce our imports.
The 35th National Festival of Arts and Culture, Ekona Fest 2022, with the theme Culture and Peaceful Coexistence, holds from Monday the 7th to Sunday 13th November 2022 at the National Stadium, National Institute for Sports, Lagos State. Time 10 a.m. daily. The official opening ceremony will take place on Wednesday 9th November 2022. Time 11 a.m. Venue Onikon Stadium, Lagos State. Ekona Fest 2022, promoting culture and peaceful coexistence. Otumba Olusegun Urushewe, OON, Chairman, National Festival Planning Committee, announcer.
Friday, November 11, 2022. History will be made in the maiden edition of the Nigerian Marketing Awards.
Are you ready? It's happening live at the prestigious Eco Convention Center, Lagos, from 6 p.m.
It's a night where excellence and hard work will be rewarded in grand style. Be a part of this amazing experience. Save the date. The Nigerian Marketing Awards is internationally accredited by the Independent Awards Standards Council.
Welcome back. Monitoring and intervention of disasters from every part of the country will be made easier for the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, with the inauguration of digital equipment donated by King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center. Director General of the agency, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, said with the aid of the equipment, field workers can now be properly coordinated for enhanced disaster management. Ilyasu Yakubu reports.
God, we commission.
With the establishment of an automatic weather observation station to support disaster early warning, preparedness, mitigation, and academic research at the National State University Kefi some month ago by NEMA, now added with audiovisual communication on disaster and humanitarian outlook by King Salman Relief Center, disaster management will now be efficiently carried out. The DG NEMA said the system will no doubt promote early response and facilitate efficient management and deployment of life-saving human and material resources. He said the federal government is grateful to the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center of Saudi Arabia for all the assistance it has been rendering to Nigerians.
There is no doubt that the current flood disaster that has affected the entire Federation of Nigeria has tested the wits of emergency responders and has brought to fore the importance of international collaboration on emergency service delivery in the country. Let me say the King Salman Relief Center has been very benevolent to Nigeria and has been a reliable ally.
Leader of the delegation, Alaska Muaz Suleiman, said the King Salman Relief Center is always passionate about assisting the needy in the society. He announced another donation of 16,000 food basket of relief materials to Borno State for another 2 cycles of intervention to be distributed directly to the IDP camps.
Provision of communication equipment will facilitate the communication between NEMA and the field offices and enable NEMA to coordinate humanitarian response to affected population in the country.
The King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center has been extending donations to Nigerian crisis community since 2018. In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
In other news, more than 20 Benin bronzes stolen from ancient Benin Kingdom in Nigeria are on their way back home to Nigeria. Anthony Forson brings us details.
They will be exhibited at the National Museum in Benin so that we can unite them with the people and the place where they were looted about 125 years ago.
The Benin bronzes, made of brass and bronzes, are a group of sculptures which include elaborately decorated flags, commemorative heads, animal and human figures, items of royal regalia, and personal ornaments. They are created back in the 16th century in the then African Kingdom of Benin by specialist guilds who worked for the royal court of the Oba in Benin City. In October 2021, Information and Culture Minister wrote to the British Museum requesting for the return of the Nigerian antiquities. The request is framed in a long-standing dialogue, with countries now seeing the need to toe the path of morality as spearheaded by Germany. US has keyed in, a move that saw Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed leading a Nigerian delegation to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, where a final agreement was signed for the repatriation of the bronzes.
Detailed evidence shows that the fowl, as the sculpture is known, was removed in a violent act of colonial conquest from the Kingdom of Benin, and as a result, the destruction of Benin City in an attack now known as the 1897 Punitive Expedition.
The significance of today is that the world has now moved away from stricto sensu legality to issue of morality, and that it is not about how you came into possession of these artifacts that matters, but the fact that they remain looted, they remain stolen, and the right thing to do is to return them to where they belong.
Finally, packed in these crates are over 20 of such bronzes. The federal government of Nigeria will take delivery of these bronzes when they arrive in Nigeria. Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Looking at other issues now, the Federal Road Safety Corps has drawn the attention of the motoring public, particularly those who are presently using K1600 and K1600 GT motorcycles with production dates of between 28 June 2017 to 19 September 2018. That the manufacturers have recalled the affected motorcycles due to faulty shock absorbers. The acting Corps Marshal, Dauda Ali Biu, is by this notice admonishing the general public, particularly dealers and riders of these categories of vehicles, to desist from selling or using the identified motorcycles on Nigerian roads so as to avoid any mishap. Next is business, and Benny is here. Benny, what's new?
Thank you, Yere. Much is new. I get to hear that. Thank you for joining us on Business. I'll start by telling you that the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, says Nigeria is committed to strengthening transparency in its public financial management towards boosting domestic resource mobilization. And to this end, Nigeria, through the annual finance bill, is reviewing rationalization of exemptions and other tax incentives for matured industries, deepening government reforms to reduce revenue for Ghana, to support fiscal policy, establishment of a more sustainable and effective monitoring of the use of tax incentives and the value-added tax and excise duty rate with support of ECOWAS and European Union.
The tax expenditure that the federal government has been giving
has encouraged industries, manufacturers to stay afloat even with the COVID pandemic, and also to say that they have been able to keep their staff.
The ratio tax to GDP is very low in Western Africa, so it is very important for the ECOWAS member states to be able to mobilize more taxes and also, of course, to be able to follow, monitor, evaluate this use of the taxes.
Particularly here in Nigeria, the government is giving most of the time a lot of incentive and giving also subsidy to a lot of things. And this process needs to be assessed properly.
And on the capital market, Nigerian stocks record a fall of 2.16%, which amounts to 545 billion naira at the close of trading today. A total of 420.2 shares in 3,486 deals corresponding to a market value of 3.6 billion naira were traded compared with the previous NGX trading day. Today's data shows 205% improvement in volume, 16% decline in turnover, but 8% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the market is 24.7 trillion naira. CWG, GT Co and Zenith Bank tapped in volume. That is business news, and network news continues after this break.
If today we say that the number of police officers, hypothetically, the ones we have, are not enough, and we want to expand the police force, for example, by 100,000 more police officers, we cannot fund it if we don't have enough taxes to expand the size of the police. It has always been said by some of that maybe we have few number of police officers per 1,000 Nigerians. Our ratio is low based on statistics globally. Now, if we want to increase by just 100,000, that will require at least an additional expenditure of about 200 billion naira a year. So it's very, very important that we pay our taxes, because that way we can ensure that we get the security that we all crave.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Let's have a bit of sports.